At exactly 06:12 on a Tuesday morning in the southern Persian Gulf, two Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps patrol boats locked their deck-mounted weapons on the USNS Mercy. Not a drill, not a warning pass, a deliberate targeting decision against a 1,200-foot white hospital ship flying the Red Cross emblem, traveling at 8 knots with 470 medical personnel aboard. The first burst of fire struck the hull at 06:14. What happened in the next 22 minutes rewrote every assumption Iran had about what protected a ship marked with a red cross. The USNS Mercy is not a warship. She carries no offensive weapons, no missiles, no combat aircraft. She carries operating theaters, 12 of them. She carries intensive care units, a blood bank, a pharmacy, and a crew of doctors and nurses deployed to provide medical support in one of the world's most volatile regions. Under international law, she is untouchable. The Geneva Convention is explicit. Attacking a clearly marked medical vessel is a war crime, full stop. No exceptions, no ambiguity. The IRGC patrol boats that closed on her that morning knew exactly what they were looking at. The Red Cross markings on her hull are 8 feet tall, visible from 2 miles. What they did not know, what would become devastatingly clear in the minutes that followed, was that the Mercy was not alone. She was never alone. 31 nautical miles to the northeast, the USS Theodore Roosevelt had been watching everything. The Roosevelt's E-2D Hawkeye had been airborne since 0430, its rotating radar dome painting a complete picture of surface and air traffic across 12,000 square miles of Gulf airspace. When the two Iranian patrol boats departed Bushehr at 0541, the Hawkeye logged them immediately. Their course, their speed, their bearing toward the Mercy's projected position, all of it calculated, tracked, and fed into the Roosevelt's Combat Information Center before the Iranian crews had finished their morning prayers. The patrol boats were tier class, Iranian-built, roughly 120 feet long, armed with 23mm autocannons and rocket pods, fast, aggressive, and designed specifically for exactly this kind of gray zone harassment operation. The IRGC had been using them to shadow coalition vessels for years. Close passes, radio intimidation, occasional weapons demonstrations aimed at empty water, the standard playbook. What changed at 0612 was that someone in one of those boats decided the playbook had a new chapter. Investigators would later determine the order came from a senior petty officer acting without authorization from his chain of command. A single individual decision in a small boat with a loaded gun. The kind of decision that ends careers. The kind that ends more than that. The burst of fire lasted 4 seconds. 12 rounds struck the Mercy's hull below the waterline on the port side. No casualties, significant damage to a ballast tank, and the immediate, irreversible activation of every defensive asset within 40 miles. The Roosevelt's tactical action officer received the Mercy's distress signal and the Hawkeye's weapons fire confirmations simultaneously. The two data points arrived 11 seconds apart. The response order came before the Iranian crews had finished their firing run. Two FA-18E Super Hornets were airborne in 4 minutes. Call signs Warlord 1 and Warlord 2 from Strike Fighter Squadron 87. Combat loadout: 4 AIM-120 AMRAAMs, 2 AGM-88 anti-radiation missiles, 2 AIM-9X Sidewinders. They climbed to 18,000 feet, turned southwest, and pushed to military power. Time to intercept 6 minutes and 40 seconds. The Iranian boat commanders heard them before they saw them. At supersonic approach speed, the auditory warning arrives roughly 4 seconds before the aircraft. 4 seconds is not enough time to make good decisions. The lead boat turned hard to port and attempted to accelerate toward Iranian territorial waters. The second boat held position, which was either bravery or confusion. Investigators later concluded it was confusion. Warlord 1 descended to 1,000 feet and crossed directly over both patrol boats at 0.9 Mach. The shockwave physically knocked 2 Iranian crew members off their feet on the open deck. The message was unambiguous. Warlord 2 followed 15 seconds later on the same vector, same altitude, same speed. This was not a warning shot. This was a demonstration of what warning shots look like when delivered by 32,000 pounds of American naval aviation. Both Iranian boats stopped. The Roosevelt had also directed the guided missile destroyer USS Farragut to intercept at flank speed. The Farragut was on scene in 19 minutes. Her 5-inch deck gun was trained and ready. Her crew stood at general quarters. She pulled alongside the Iranian lead patrol boat close enough that the American gun crew's expressions were clearly visible from the Iranian deck. There is no record of what was said over radio in that exchange. What the log recorded records is that both vessels were boarded under international maritime law at 0708. 12 crew members were detained. The autocannon on the lead boat was rendered inoperable. Ballistic analysis confirmed it as the source of every round that struck the Mercy. The evidence was comprehensive. The denial that followed from Tehran was not. The Mercy's damage control team sealed the ballast tank breach within 40 minutes. No medical operations were interrupted. Surgeries that were underway when the shot struck the hull were completed without pause. The medical staff never stopped. 470 people doing their jobs while a naval confrontation played out 200 yards from their operating theaters. That detail, perhaps more than any other, captures what the IRGC miscalculated. They fired on a ship full of people who did not stop working, and they triggered a response from a strike group that did not slow down. The diplomatic fallout was immediate and severe. 17 nations issued formal condemnations within 24 hours. 3 Gulf states that have been quietly distancing themselves from American security arrangements reversed course publicly. Iran's foreign ministry released 4 separate statements in 36 hours, each less coherent than the last, cycling through denial, justification, and eventual silence. The petty officer who gave the fire order was identified through signals intelligence within 72 hours. Iran never acknowledged him publicly. The 2 patrol boats were returned after 14 days, under conditions negotiated through back channels. The crews were repatriated. The autocannon was not returned. It currently sits in a naval intelligence facility in Bahrain, completely disassembled, every component cataloged. The USNS Mercy continued her mission. She remained on station for 11 more days, treating patients, conducting surgeries, doing exactly what she was deployed to do. Her red cross on her hull was repainted where shrapnel had grazed it, 8 feet tall, visible from 2 miles. Some symbols are chosen because they represent protection. Sometimes you find out exactly what they're backed by. The Persian Gulf returned to its permanent state of armed tension. Nobody fired a second shot, not because the opportunity didn't exist, because the first shot had already answered every question anyone needed answered about what happens when you fire at something the United States Navy has decided to protect. If this story is what you come here for, subscribe to Navy Frontline. There's more where this came from.